In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful,
Peace be with you. I am very grateful to God for giving me this blessing to be here with you in this university. And I'm very happy that I am accompanied by some of our dear members of Shia community from Argentina and US and Canada and Iran. And I'm also very honored that we are accompanied by Professor Benny Kalibat, who is a very great and dear friend and an example of wisdom and humility and a member of Wings of Unity. I'm also very happy that we have also members of Focolare community from Mariapolis, Santa Maria, and other cities. And your presence and your faces with joy and hope is really honoring me and humbling me. I try to share with you some of my experiences and reflections. Thanks to God, I had the pleasure of learning many things in a practical way. So I'm not just talking about what I have learned through the classrooms and the books. I talk also about what I learned by meeting people and listening to people. And I think without this part, I would not be the same person as I am today. So to give you a little background about myself, I was born in Tehran, which is the capital of Iran. And in Iran, we very much love Brazil. And also from my generation, we very much remember Pele, Brazilian football. But also we have been for many years importing meat from Brazil. So relations, cultural, trade have been there. When I was a teenager, I had lots of questions about God. I was in a Muslim family, brought up, and in a sense, I was a believer in God because I really wanted to be a believer, but I was questioning my faith because in Shia Islam, I'm sure you are aware of diversity in Islam, about Shia Islam and Sunni Islam. They are all brothers, but we are Shia Muslims. So for us, reason is very important. And we believe that every person should be able to back up his or her faith with reason and reasoning. I cannot say I am a Muslim because my father was a Muslim. As a child, it's acceptable, but not as an adult. I have to have my own reasons for adopting Islam. So I remember that I was telling myself, are you able to prove existence of God? It is very fundamental for us. And I had questions, I was asking my teachers, etc. And I was not convinced. I had a cupboard full of books that I was buying from my pocket money about God. Anything I was finding that is trying to prove existence of God, I was buying and trying to read. But I was not convinced. But I didn't stop. I knew that in the seminary of Qom, which is about 130 kilometers away from Tehran, where is the largest center of learning for Shia Muslims, and right now there are maybe 90,000 students there. I knew that they are very particular in their studies. They study things line by line, word by word. And if you want to be a good scholar, it's a matter of 15, 20 years of studying the seminary. So I told my parents, please let me go to the seminary and see if I can find answer for my questions. But we didn't have anyone in our family who was a seminarian, and only very remote, relatives who, by marriage, were seminarians. So finally, my father accepted, then my mother accepted. At the age of 17, I went to the seminary to find answer for my questions. And from the beginning, I had a very powerful interest in two subjects, one philosophy and one spirituality. Through my studies as a teenager, I came to believe what I believe still today, that I need to be convinced rationally, but also I need to feel peace in my heart. So this is why I studied philosophy and spirituality together. And then, after several years, exactly after 7 years, I also decided to learn, in addition to Islamic philosophy and spirituality, Western philosophy. Because I knew that search for truth was not only for Muslims. All other nations have been searching for truth. So I wanted to know what are the achievements of Western philosophers. So I joined Tehran University, and I did my bachelor's and master's in Western philosophy. And the way we do Western philosophy in this particular degree is that maybe 70% is history of philosophy, from pre-Socratic time up to contemporary philosophy. And therefore we study also lots of Christian thinkers and philosophers, especially in medieval ages. And I continued also my seminary studies in parallel. In 1996, I was given a scholarship. Maybe some of you were not born. Yeah. So I was given my scholarship to do my PhD in Manchester. So the institute in Qom, in the seminary, they were open to send me to study in a secular university in the West. and I did my PhD on ethical relativism. And then I did my postdoc on issues related to life and death as bioethics. And then I went back to Iran in 2001, and I was head of Department of Religions, where they gave me scholarship and kept my search for knowing about other cultures. What is maybe important to mention is that when I was in Manchester, I thought this is a good time to know more about Christianity. Not as I find it in the books or taught by my teachers. This is good, but not enough. I thought I should have face-to-face encounter with Christians. So one of my humble advice for you is that whenever you have opportunity to have face-to-face encounter with someone or some culture or some religion or tradition, go for it. Never be satisfied by reading books, let alone reading tweets. Even if you read 10 volumes of books about another nation, another religion, is not enough. If I had read many volumes about Brazil, but I was never here, never meeting you, never talking to you, never eating together, never walking together, it was not the same experience. So I try to use that opportunity to know more about Christianity as lived and practiced. And thanks to God, we came to know the Focolare movement in Great Britain. And I was very busy with my studies. As a foreign student, I had very limited time. I had a scholarship for 3 years and a half. Otherwise, I was running out of money. So I had to focus on my study. At the same time, I was asked to be Imam of the Shia community in Manchester Islamic Institute, because I was the only seminarian, but I thought I should know about Christianity. So we spent lots of time in knowing Christianity. Maybe I could say I could take few PhDs if I had put all these times into a study. But few PhDs were not giving me what I learned through this. I could add to my certificates, but not to my understanding. So sometime we were for 1 week in Mariapolis, not permanent, like summer Mariapolis. The first Mariapolis we attended was maybe 97, 98. We were one Muslim family, me and my wife and children, and several hundred. Yeah. So Mariapolis means city of Mary. So our Focolare friends every year try to get together and spend part of the holidays that they have, but in a way which would enrich their relations with each other, with God. There are activities, there are different programs for every age. And I attended several of these, and we were the only Muslim family in the first one. But thanks to God, we didn't feel uncomfortable. We didn't feel we are surrounded by strangers. we very much felt at home. Partly because of their love and respect for our culture. I remember from the very first Mariapolis, they were always very careful about preparing a special place for our prayer, respecting our religious requirements, and never ever trying to change our faith. And on the other hand, we were also very open, thanks to God, because of our tradition, which focuses on commonalities and God and rationality and dialogue. We also felt very much comfortable. So this relation with Christians started with Focolare and then developed into relation with Benedictine monks. You saw a short video, and this is only part of our experiences, and that is with the Benedictine monks and nuns. And this started in 90s, but the first round of dialogue officially was in 2003. And round 11, you saw up to 9. Round 11 was last December in South Africa. And in January, we will have round 12, God willing, in Senegal. We developed relations with lots of other groups, like Mennonites, Anglicans. So, at the beginning, I tried to make everything very short. So I spent about 27, 28 years in this relation with the Christians. And if I talk 2 minutes for each year, it's 56 minutes. So 2 minutes for each year. But I'm going to make it even shorter because we want to have interactions. So what I'm telling with you is based on my studies in seminary, in Tehran University, in Manchester University, but 27, 28 years of experience and practicing. We have been traveling to many, many Christian places. This is our second time to Brazil. We have been to Italy, I don't know, tens of times. I don't know really how many times I have been to Italy. And many other countries. Now we have regular programs with several Mariapolis centers, which are like permanent Mariapolis small towns in different countries. We have weeks of unity in different countries. We will see one of them. So, I share with you some points that I hope you find them useful. And not only people who are studying religions, I think any person would benefit from knowing how to react and interact with people of other cultures. Even I know some of you are studying dentistry. I'm sure you benefit. Some are studying international relations. You will certainly benefit if you know how to deal with other people. One point is that we human beings have a tendency to note differences much earlier than commonalities. Even sometimes we don't get a chance to notice commonalities, we just notice the differences. For example, if someone enters this room and see everyone is dressed the same way. Just one person is dressed differently. His attention would go to this person because it's different. Doesn't go to the people who are the same. If we are all sitting, one person stands up, we all pay attention to that person, not the others. And if all are dressed the same color, one person is dressed differently, we don't pay attention to the commonalities, we focus on the difference of the color. Why? I think this is maybe part of our mechanism for defense. We have to defend ourselves, and normally the threats are by something which is different from the context. Plus, I cannot focus on all people. I can focus only on one or two. Therefore, my mind goes to the people who are different. So I try to have an eye. So this is why we are very much sensitive about if there is a stranger, if there is someone uncommon. This is part of the way our mind works, which is not bad in itself. But we need to train our mind that go beyond this and notice commonalities. This is very important for dealing with people of other cultures. It's very important in interreligious relations or international relations. The second point is that normally when we want to compare what we have in common or what we differ, we consider them numerically. Many people, even writers, scholars, do this. For example, you say, what are commonalities and differences between Muslims and Christians? Or between even two denominations of the same faith, for example, between Catholics and Protestants. Many people, even if they are very fair and objective, they say, okay, we have a column or a list of commonalities and a list of differences. For example, Muslims and Christians, they have God as one common belief. They both believe in God, who is a personal God. Yeah? Who has all the knowledge, all the power, etc. They believe in human freedom and responsibility. They believe in the hereafter, etc. They make a column of commonality. And then they say, okay, they differ about, for example, Trinity. They differ about, for example, their scripture. They differ about how they pray, etc. So they make two lists. And then say, okay, 10 commonalities, for example, 10 differences. Or 10 commonalities, 20 differences. More or less. This is, to say the minimum, not accurate. It can be very deceiving. What I say just is not accurate. Why? Because these elements are not coming with the same value and significance. So, if someone wants to see what is common between me and you, and says they are both human beings, one, common humanity. But one is Brazilian, one is Iranian. So one difference, what commonality? Do you see what is wrong here? putting our humanity equal to our nationality. And this is absolutely wrong. For racists, this is even more important than our humanity. How can I feel close to someone who is from another nation or race? But for us, I think everyone in this room would have this idea that our common humanity is much more important than which part of the world we are born to. We love our countries, our continents, but not equal to our common humanity. If we see any human being from any part of the world, we should feel connected and united. So, if God is common between us, especially God in the way that Abrahamic traditions understand, this cannot be put as equal to anything that we differ on. For example, maybe our prophets are different, or our scriptures are different, but are they as important as common God? No. If someone says, who said God is common? God of you Asian people is different from God of us in Latin America. Or God of you Muslims is different from God of us Christians. Or God of Protestants is different from God of Catholics. This is not reasonable. God is the same for everyone. Because God is the creator of the skies and the earth. Creator of all of us. So it's the same God. Maybe we have differences in our understanding of details, of attributes, of actions of God. But we are not talking about different gods. Even within the same religion, if you ask a philosopher or theologian or a mystic, the way they understand God can be different. But God is the same. So, our common humanity and our common God are far greater than any differences that we have. Therefore, when I enter this place, I feel at home. Because I'm meeting my fellow human beings and fellow believers in God. I never feel I am in a stranger land or I am a stranger here. I feel at home. Because I know God who is in my country is God who is in Brazil. It's the same God. God who created us, created you. And on top of that, God has also created us from the same father and mother, from Adam and Eve. So we have even blood relations. We have family ties. So, never let differences so much preoccupy your mind that you will not notice commonalities, number one. Number two, now that you want to notice commonalities and differences together, never give everything equal value. You should have a system against which you measure value of everything. And believe me, depending on what is your framework, the value can be very much different. I give you an example. There were times that, for example, people of the same faith, different sects in Islam, or different denominations in Christianity, were fighting each other. In Europe, there were many wars between Catholics and Protestants. Sometimes we have had wars, and still we have in some places wars between some Muslims. Why? Because they so much focus on the differences that they cannot even believe that this person is a fellow Muslim or a fellow Christian. They feel that this person has nothing to do with my faith. This person believes in Jesus, believes in Trinity, does Mass, everything. But they say, no, you are not a Christian. Or you are not a Muslim. Even actually, many times they become more harsh with people of the same religion when they belong to another tradition. But thanks to God and thanks to lots of ecumenical work, now Christians from different denominations, Muslims from different schools, they look at each other as brothers and sisters. Theological differences have not disappeared and have not been compromised. But what has happened that they no longer fight each other. Indeed, they respect each other. It's all because they are seeing the value of common faith in Jesus or the Quran and Prophet Muhammad is so important that now they can see that they are brothers and sisters, although they are different in their denomination. So, everything has a value which can only be understood if you know against what framework you are giving that value. My understanding is this, that if we continue this journey of ecumenism further, we would reach the point that we as Muslims and Christians can see so much value in our common faith in God that would consider each other as fellow believers without compromising about our theological differences. We are not following different religions. If you look at it from God's perspective, this needs an expanded, discussion. But very briefly, the way I understand, and I think it's not very difficult, to share this idea, is that God has not sent different religions. We read in the books on religions and history of religions that, for example, there is Judaism founded by Moses, or Christianity founded by Jesus, or Islam founded by Prophet Muhammad. But this is only what the books tell us. You can never find that Moses said, I am founding and bringing a new religion. Or Jesus said, I am bringing a new religion. Or Prophet Muhammad said, I am bringing a new religion. God is the same. Humanity is the same. Then how can God send different religions? Yes, God can send different versions, different editions of the same message. But core message is the same. It's impossible, for example, a wise teacher every few years totally changes his mind and sends a new message. God never undoes what he has said or written. Never, rewrites his message. All prophets, all messengers brought the same message from God. But historically, these messages have been given different interpretations, different colors, different details, to the extent that sometimes it's very difficult for us to recognize that they are coming from the same source. Imagine if rain is coming and then flowing sometimes on a land which is salty, another land is sweet, another land has no taste. This water then finally would have different taste, but all is from the same source. God has no color. God has no race. God has no geographical limitations or temporal limitations. Even God is not Muslim or Christian. Yeah? Is God Muslim or Christian or Jew? No. God has no faith. Because faith is to go to God. Then how can God have faith? So, unfortunately, we are not finding our common roots easily. And so much focus on differences and different shapes, different colors, different places, different times, all these details, that the big picture, the greater picture of the truth becomes very clouded. So, we need to train ourselves, mind and heart together, to be able to share our common God with love, with humility, with each other. Sometimes people say, God is ours. Religion is ours. You have no right to talk about my God. In a country I don't want to mention, they took some Christians to court because they used Allah for God. They said, you cannot use Allah. Allah is for Muslims. You cannot use Allah as Christians. And there are also some Christians who say Allah is not good. Allah is not our God. Not knowing that Arab Christians all say Allah. If you read Bible in Arabic, it always says Allah. God is for all of us. No one has monopoly over God. As no one has monopoly over humanity. Some people say, we are human beings. You are not human beings. You are to serve us. These are racists. Some people say, God is ours, and you all have either to convert to our faith or you have no relation with God. Once I took a group of students from Com to Rome, and in Castel Gandolfo, which is the international center for a lot of conferences and meetings. So we had a discussion about love. And this idea came to my mind, that there are two types of love for God. Many of us, I don't want to say I am immune. I can be also suffering from this. Many of us, the way we love God is possessive. I love God by feeling that I possess God, I own God. As I love my car, I love my computer, my house is possessive. When it is possessive, means that you have no right to have it unless I give you permission to use it. But you cannot have it. Yeah? It's my God, not your God. And what happens then is God becomes an object at the control of these people. And they use God to justify their own interest. My God, if it is possessed by me, would prioritize my interest over your interest. Imagine if a tribe has a tribal God. Wouldn't this God prefer this tribe over other tribes? Wouldn't this God says to the tribe that if you need more land, take it from other people? They have no right to have land because I am your God and I give you permission. So they can do any mischief and this God would give them permission. This is very common in the history. People have done many things and they thought their religion gives them permission. They have enslaved others and then they have went to worship God, thinking God is endorsing enslaving others or attacking other countries. Why? Because this God has become tribal. This God has become a nationalistic God. This can also happen to religions. If I convert God into a Muslim God, because many times we convert God, yeah? If God becomes a Muslim God, don't you think it would prioritize Muslims over others? And if God becomes a Christian God, would prioritize Christians over others? And if God becomes a Jewish God, would prioritize Jewish people over others? This is possessive love. But the right type of love is to be possessed, not to be possessive. Love for God should possess you and raise you. Instead of bringing God to the level of a tribe or a sect or a cult, we should rise towards God. Of course, the first one is easier. To bring God down is easier. Because if you want to rise towards God, it needs lots of spirituality, lots of practices, lots of, purification, working hard on your intentions, everything. But this is the only way which is useful. That I first rise over my family and see in my neighborhood there are other families. I should care for them, I should love them. Then people of my city, then people of my province, people of my country, people of my continent, people of my denomination, my religion, then all people. The only way to be true believer in God is to look at others with the eyes of God and from the eyes of God. Then you would see that not only every human being would be very important, but every creature also would be very important for us. Those who are racist, those who suffer from religious bias, they don't see value in other human beings. But people who are possessed by love for God, they see value in every human being. They see value in every creature of God. We as Muslims and Christians, we believe that everything created by God is sacred. Everything created by God has signature of God. Like, artists, they put a signature. If you look carefully, you see signature of God on everything. Yes, God has permitted us to use what is available in the nature. We can eat fruits. We can, eat meat. But this doesn't mean that they are not sacred, or we are even better than them. I should not feel I am better than this fruit that I am eating. There is a story which is very interesting. It is said that once God told Moses, the next time you bring to my appointment, bring someone who is worse than you with yourself. And Moses looked around, and whenever he wanted to say, I should take this person, then he thought, but maybe he's better than me. He couldn't find any human being to say he's worse than me. Then he found a dog which was very ugly and ill, and said, maybe I can only say this is worse than me. But then he said, even I cannot say this is worse than me, because this dog has not done anything wrong. So he went to see God, and God asked him, why you didn't bring anyone? And he said, because I didn't find anyone worse than me. And God told him, if you had brought that dog with you, you would have lost your position. So, we are given permission by God to use nature, but in a responsible way. And not thinking that we human beings are better than animal, than plant, than water, than sea, than land, and we can, exploit everything because we are better. We are not better. We are just given permission to use them in a responsible way. In another story, it says that one prophet asked God, I wonder why you have created this cockroach. God said, it's interesting because this cockroach was just asking me why I have created you. So, we need to be very humble. We find in the lives of mystics that they were very hesitant to even kill flies and mosquitoes. They tried to just push them outside the room because they felt, I am not in a position to take life from any creature. So, we have been given by God the blessing of being his vicegerent on the earth. Every human being should look at himself or herself as a mirror, at least, reflecting the love of God to others and to our common earth. We consider earth as our mother. We have a hadith from the Prophet that be careful and respectful to the earth because it's your mother. You know, in Islam, mothers have very high position. Even our Prophet said, heaven is beneath the feet of the mothers. One person went to the Prophet and said, I have done lots of bad things. How can I make sure that God is going to forgive me? And the Prophet said, go and show kindness to your mother. Then he repeated, the Prophet said again the same thing. If I am not mistaken, for 3 times. But he said, I don't have mother. My mother has passed away. So then the Prophet said, go and show kindness to the aunt, to the sister of your mother. So mothers have very high position. But the earth is also likened to our mother. In the Quran we read that we come from the earth and we go back to the earth. And then again we will be resurrected from the earth. So in many different stages we are connected with the earth. Even in the hereafter, although the earth will be transformed, but again we will be some kind of earth. So instead of we focusing on our differences and use them as means to say I am better than you, we should celebrate our commonalities and work together for betterment of life for every human being and every creature. This planet has enough for all human beings to have prosperous life. And still we are not familiar with everything that the earth has to offer. The Quran says that if people were pious and faithful, we would have sent them our blessings from above and from the bottom. Now we are not optimally receiving the blessings. When we do injustice to each other, to ourselves, when we are acting with ignorance, many channels of God's mercy are blocked, or only very little is leaking. But if we are acting as brothers and sisters in God, we will receive so much more from God that no one needs to suffer. So let us celebrate our common humanity. Let us get together around our common God and make this earth a place that everyone can feel peaceful. Inner peace and outer peace. And this becomes then heaven. Because what is heaven? Heaven, according to the Quran, is Darus Salam, the abode of peace. We can have permanent peace in heaven, but also we can have temporary peace here. This can become temporary heaven. Now, for many people, unfortunately, the world is like hell. There is war, there is famine, there is injustice, and this is very sad that in this age, with so much advancement of science and technology and communication, still we see in front of our eyes that some people have to suffer. Not suffer because there was no enough rain. Suffer because some people decide to deprive others of food, of water, of medicine, of everything. We have responsibility to do something to solve these problems, but also to establish enduring peace. And our hope is great. Our hope is not coming from anything human. Our hope comes from God. Hope is a sign of faith. How much hope you have? As great as God. So my hope is endless. Not because I am not aware of the problems, but because I am aware of the greatness of God. And whenever you see there is darkness, whenever you see there is darkness, actually you should be more hopeful. We have a hadith which says, with respect to what you have no hope, be more hopeful. Because that is the time that God is more likely to intervene. When does a Savior come? When you want to go to holidays? No, the Savior doesn't come when you want to go to holidays. Or when you have a normal day. A Savior comes when you have a miserable life. God would intervene when we do our best but cannot solve the problems. The problems are far greater than us. Then God would intervene. So, we have great hope. And one of the things, and that's my last point, that gives us hope that God is going to make our life in this planet better, is that we see our youth are more aware than any time of our common humanity and common planet. Every youngster today is fully aware that there is only one life for all of us. In the past, this was not really possible. But now, youth are connected with each other. They are aware of everything that happens in any part of the world. And this gives them a global perspective. I'm sure it brings also pain. It brings suffering when you see, for example, other people are suffering in other parts of the world, but it has also benefits. So I'm very hopeful that the next generation would benefit from this godly and global perspective. And if they manage to benefit from wisdom of the wise also people of the previous generation and combine these two, they can do really extraordinary job. Openness of the youth, energy of the youth, global perspective of the youth, with the wisdom of people like Kiara Lubick, like Pope Francis, would make us in a position that we can face all the challenges. May God be with you and may you always shine to everyone around you. Thank you very much.